All right, it was a pretty good week so far for the gays. That's right, the Supreme Court let stand 5 federal appellate court rulings, so a bunch more states are getting gay marriage: Utah, Oklahoma, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Indiana. So we've got an updated gay marriage map. All right, there you go. Dark blue, fully legal, and the light blue are the new states, and the gray, they like that traditional, old-fashioned marriage. Do you guys want to comment on the map?
One man and a harem.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Anything else interesting? Do you find anything interesting? Gays like water, apparently. Everything close to water except down south.
Well, if you're gonna, you can have like super conservatives like to one side of you. You don't want to be surrounded by them, ideally.
Yeah.
Not much surprising about that map. I mean, New Mexico possibly. That's pretty much it.
That's
in terms of the long-established ones.
Okay, so the interesting thing I think about this is CNN's Jeffrey Toobin, who's their chief legal analyst. He basically said that the Supreme Court did not do their duty by not hearing this case, because that's what would have led to all the states in the union getting gay marriage. But don't let me speak for him. Let's listen in.
Well, you know, this is why we have a Supreme Court, right? To settle complicated, controversial legal issues. Frankly, I think it's outrageous that the court didn't take this case. I mean, you know, the way the court works is it takes 4 votes to agree to hear a case. It's 5 votes to reach a judgment, but 4 votes to hear a case. And apparently there were not 4 votes to take these cases. Now, the justices may say, though they don't explain these rulings, look, there's no controversy in the courts of appeals now. They have all ruled that same-sex marriage is the law. We don't need to settle a disagreement. There could be some strategic voting going on the part of some of the justices saying, we don't want to take this case because our side may lose. That's something that goes on. But frankly, I think this was a real abdication of duty on the part of the Supreme Court. The discussion about same-sex marriage has been going on in this country for quite some time. And the excuse me, and the country has changed so much. And there are so many states that have it now that, you know, 19. Yes, the court shouldn't get ahead of the public, but, you know, the public is, you know, now all the polls show a majority favor same-sex marriage. It's a place where it seems to me it's past time for the Supreme Court to step in. But you know what? I don't get a vote.
Okay, so I think that's really interesting what he's saying there. So yes, we got some more gay marriage. That's pretty good. Most people are down with that. But that the court itself didn't really do what its duty is. This seems kind of shitty. Like when I saw originally on Twitter, when I saw it rolling in, I was like, oh, this is all good, all good. We're getting more states are coming around. But ultimately, isn't this exactly what the Supreme Court is supposed to do? Aren't they supposed to take the challenging cases?
They literally legally abided by what they were supposed to do. And he's like, well, I don't think this is right. I'm with the anchor, Michaela Pereira. Like, really? You think this is outrageous and a legal abdication?
But shouldn't they? Aren't they supposed to take the tough cases, and when something is being talked about nationally, as this has been going on long enough, aren't they supposed to jump in and say this is what the law of the land is?
I think Toobin's mostly historically accurate there, in that when you have 2 different sets of laws, like you're treating one group of people 2 different ways in different states, they're supposed to step in, but not especially the way it is right now. It's not so much that the laws are different in different states. Generally, historically, when it's a seriously contentious social issue, the Supreme Court will step in, not when the laws are different, but when different different district judges and things like that are ruling differently. Like if you had a Supreme Court, a same-sex marriage ban knocked down in one state and then upheld by a district court, and then in a different state it's struck down by a district court. Usually when there's judicial disagreement, that's when the Supreme Court will step in.
So isn't it close enough to that, though? That's kind of what's happening
here,
here,
right? It seems like in all of these cases that we were talking about that they might have picked up, it was basically that the law was saying you can't have same-sex marriage, and then the judiciary was saying you can. There seemed to be pretty widespread agreement by the judges in terms of what the law should be. And so that might not have been contentious enough judicially for the Supreme Court to feel they had to step in.
Right. So as I assume both of you are for same-sex marriage, wouldn't you want the court to do this? We're forgetting the legal, whether they technically legally had to do it or whether it was okay. Wouldn't you want them to step up and do something that would just get this issue off the table? Isn't it? Aren't you sick of talking about it?
It has been a long time, but you know, I do agree that we need to do what's legally proper, because I stand by keeping our legal system legal and by the book, rather than just, well, my religion says this and my feelings say that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think whatever allows it to be the law of the land would be good, but I would say that if you think that in 5 or 10 years it's going to be effectively wide across the entire country, which is probably going to be the case, I think the best possible way would be for people's opinions to change and then the laws to be changed, as opposed to it being mandated by the Supreme Court, which could, in the case of like Roe v. Wade, it could lead to long-standing resentment by the people who feel like they ruled the wrong way. I would rather that it was a popular decision.
Right.
And it's moving so fast. I saw a chart today, I think, on Vox that compared approval rates for same-sex marriage historically versus interracial marriage. About 3 decades after it was legally allowed, you were able to have interracial marriage, for it to reach majority approval. In the case of same-sex marriage, it's reached majority approval even before it's legal.
Yeah, so it is happening quickly. To me, what this more is about is, of course, I'm happy with what happened here, and I guess maybe I'm not as patient as what you're saying, which I think is a legitimate point. But it seems to me it just shows how broken our system is. Like right now, we're at war in Syria. Congress didn't vote for it. We have branches of government that are supposed to do different things. So Congress didn't vote on us going to a new country to attack them. Forget attacking Iraq again, that's fine. And here, the Supreme Court is not, I just don't see them doing what they're supposed to do, despite that's a pretty sound argument that I think you're making.
Yeah, well, look, if your argument is that the system is broken, you're going to have widespread agreement throughout this building.
With TYT, yeah. Do you think the gay marriage thing is over? I really believe, I've been saying it for a while on the show, that the Republicans are actually going to be for it in 2016, whoever runs.
We've been watching, conservative candidates and people in office, slowly migrate their views this way as the popular opinion moves this way, which makes me think maybe you don't care and you just want the votes and you're just doing what's popular. And if that's what it takes, fine.
Imagine
let it be.
Elected officials only doing something because it's popular. Isn't that bizarre? Well, actually, speaking of that, I mean, Ted Cruz really is the only person in the Republican Party who really came out against this. So that shows that the Republicans are really coming around, right?
Yeah, I think that even he will back off. I mean, traditionally, when you have an issue like this being pushed by one party, it's either because they think they can make a lot of money off of it, or they can move a lot of votes by it. Historically, same-sex marriage has never been an absolutely massive fundraising tool for the Republicans in the way that like abortion rights are, or something like that. And there's so much overlap in terms of the people who oppose same-sex marriage with other traditionally more lucrative issues like abortion. Why not just move them on that issue? And not risk turning off some moderate Republicans who might be in favor of same-sex marriage.
All right, there you go. Call me crazy. I'm for gay marriage and also for a functional system. I know that's nuts, but what can I say? I'm a dreamer.